Hello and welcome back to my back deck. I have a project here. You may have guessed by the title. I'm not even sure what I'm titling this video, but I have a project here that I wasn't going to put on camera, and then I thought, well, maybe I should get your guys' feedback on this. This should be just a quick little project, but I have this Earth Angel rose here that I have totally neglected. So a few years back, my wife got me this Earth Angel rose. And from that Earth Angel rose, I propagated a bunch. I have a few planted out in the rose garden, but I had the original here in this pot. Now, I think it was about 2 years ago. I might have repotted this, I think. But last year, I totally neglected this rose. Totally. Didn't even pay attention to it. I think I gave it fertilizer once, and beyond that, it didn't do anything to it. And a few things happened. One was there was a verbena nearby, and the verbena started to seed here in the pot. And that's what all this brown, dried debris is. And that's actually okay. I think it added a certain attractiveness to the rose overall, but the rose got sick, and I'm not sure why the rose got sick. Again, I neglected it. I didn't take the time or the effort or the energy to investigate, to figure out why. Could have been something natural, could have been the environment, not sure. Right now, I think I got all the verbena out. So half this top growth here appears to be totally dead, and there's only a few bits over here that look live, like this branch right here. This looks pretty good, and this looks okay. The rest of it looks pretty awful. So what I'm going to do today is something I think pretty radical, or at least it's radical for me. If you grow roses, if you tend roses, please let me know in those comments below. But I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to start chopping away. And as I'm touching some of these branches, they're just dried. They're breaking actually in my hands. And it could indicate a bigger problem with the rose bush itself. So we are going to go medieval. Now I am noticing, is that a bud? That might be a bud. I'm not sure, but that whole stem is going. And as I said, I'm just really going medieval on this guy, chopping all this growth up. And as I just stated a second ago, you shouldn't be able to do that. I don't know if it's going to show up on camera, but there is some live growth here, and that's all nice. But because of the condition of the plant, I'm going to go a little rough on this still. So I'm taking this branch stack to a bud, and I'm going to take this whole stem right back to what I think is a bud. So I am losing some top green growth, but look at that. That's not natural. So now all I'm left with is just this one stem, which looks pretty healthy. So the next step that I'm going to take is I'm going to try to get this bush out of here. I'm going to empty out the pot, and then I'm going to replant in fresh potting soil. So just like that, I have the shrub out of the pot here. Now, this is the way it normally sits, and as you can see, I just have this one branch going out. The plant itself doesn't look great. Again, I'm not an plant expert. It does have some roots down here, but I would expect after being in this pot for so many years, it would have more roots and the roots would be thicker and bigger. I'm thinking that somehow, even though last year was really dry, maybe the plant got a little overwatered. I'm just trying to tease out some of the old soil here, tease out some of these roots, because some of these roots seem to have curled back in on themselves. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to repot it back into this pot with fresh potting soil. Now, when I do repot it, I'm going to probably bury it like this. From my understanding, you can bury rose crowns. So if I bury it like this, maybe it'll just grow back normally, healthy, like-ish, maybe.
A few minutes later.
Okay, after dumping the soil, I made a discovery. Now this pot had a bunch of small holes around the edge and one small hole in the center. Well, because the pot hadn't been refreshed in 2 years, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, well, that potting soil was breaking down. When it breaks down into smaller pieces, it wound up blocking up all of these small holes. So what happened was, the rosebush got a case of the root rots. Good news, no horrible diseases. Bad news for the rose, though, I almost killed it with root rot. And the reason I know this is because when I dumped out the potting soil, I found a lot of fragments of very big and thick roots. As those roots were rotting off, left this started regrowing all of this, And here we are. Also during this winter, we haven't had a lot of heavy rain, so the water it did receive was very little, which is good because then the pot didn't fill up with water and continue to drown the rose. The other thing I've done is I've put some bricks down on the ground. As you can see, I drilled a nice big hole in the center. I'm going to take some broken crocks and I'm going to put them over the holes. So hopefully that will then prevent the potting soil from clogging up those holes again, and hopefully I can let this pot go for another couple of years. But if I do start seeing signs of stress on the plant now, I've now learned that, oopsie, we got a case of the root rot's going on, so either water it less or change out the potting soil. Let me get some potting soil back in and get this guy back in its home. Let's get this guy settled back in. Trying to settle the soil in the pot. And by giving it a good shake, it helps to settle the soil around the plant and the plant roots. Last but not least, give it a good water. I wanted to give it a good soak so that the soil settles in around the roots, because the roots need to have good contact with the soil. And it is getting quite warm down here in eastern North Carolina, and we're not supposed to get rain. Maybe Thursday night we'll get a little bit of rain. But other than that, we're not scheduled for a big rain of any sort for a while. And with fresh new soil, it should allow for good drainage down through the bottom. And now that the pot is lifted up off the ground, this again will also allow for good drainage. So that's the project for here today on my back deck, saving my rose bush from my own neglect, as it were, and my own incompetence. Hopefully this year it does a whole lot better. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Click that bell icon to be notified when I do post up a new video, because more than likely we will be coming back to this rose bush later in the year to see how it's doing. If you guys have any questions, comments, etc., please leave them below. There will be a video hopefully on Friday. And I think that's going to wrap it up for today. I'm going to catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.